Hey guys, welcome back. It is mid-May in Southeast Texas and I've got you out in the garden today, and what you're looking at is cantaloupes, and specifically you are looking at cantaloupes that are growing up a trellis. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit today about my experience growing up a trellis. This is the first year I've done this with cantaloupes, and talk to you a little bit about some of the learnings that I've had. So first of all, I love growing melons, so watermelons and cantaloupes. And if you've grown these in your garden, I think you know there's a couple of primary challenges to this. For one, as you can see, cantaloupes grow very vigorously. They grow very quickly, and they're pretty aggressive. And so when you grow these on the ground, as I've normally done, they become very big very quickly. And so it's difficult, right? Because you need a lot of space to grow these. The second thing is, when you grow them on the ground and they start to produce fruit, and if I go in here, you'll see some fruit, and we'll go around from time to time and look at some of the fruit here. But as they start to grow this fruit, when it's on the ground, it's harder for the plant, right? That fruit is laying in the dirt. It has the potential to rot. It has the potential to get some disease. And so by growing up this trellis, and this is an 8-foot tall trellis, we really solved those two primary issues. We solved the space issue because we're growing vertically and it's not taking up room on the ground. And the second thing is, when the fruit appears and starts growing, it is not in the dirt. And so a lot of that risk of disease and rot goes away. Now there's two varieties on this plant. We're growing Sugarcube cantaloupes. I think we have 3 different Sugarcube plants. You probably can't see them down here. And then the other variety we have is called a Minnesota Midget. And these are the last 2 plants on the right here. Both of these, the Sugarcube and the Minnesota Midget, are called personal cantaloupes. So they're not the traditional large cantaloupes you would find in the store. They're supposed to be quite a bit smaller. I think when they get ripe, you're talking, maybe 12 to 14 inches in diameter. And we can walk around a little bit. You can get a view here. You'll see some fruit on the plant here. Here's a Minnesota Midget on the right. You can see we have this in the net. I'll talk about that in a second. But the Minnesota Midget is pretty small, but you're starting to see that sort of traditional cantaloupe look. It's getting the rind on the outside, starting to change color. And then over here, if I go over, you'll see one of the Sugarcubes. This is a lighter cantaloupe. Again, you'll see sort of the typical cantaloupe look starting to appear as we've got this in the net. Really, really pretty, but again, similar size, not very big, that personal size. You'll see another Sugarcube cantaloupe here. The Sugarcubes are appearing as a whiter, much lighter colored exterior. There's another one over here. Let's see if we can find some more. Here's a smaller Minnesota Midget. I just like that name, the Minnesota Midget. Let's go back around the plant. Another Minnesota Midget hiding out in here. Now, you saw the netting on these cantaloupes, right? And this is another real benefit of the trellis approach, I think. Now, the first thing I'll say is, with these personal sized cantaloupes, with the Sugarcube and with the Minnesota Midget, these are small cantaloupes, so the urgency isn't there to support these, even though we do. But if you're growing a regular sized cantaloupe, you're going to want the ability to have some sort of support. You're going to want, because honestly, these things will start to get big, they'll get heavy, and they run the risk of tearing the plant, damaging the actual plant itself. And so what this netting does, and we've just taken some basic garden netting, we've attached this to the trellis. Now, again, another benefit of the trellis, you've just got unlimited options in terms of attaching netting and support to it. Number one, it obviously supports the cantaloupe itself, and 2, it protects it, right? It does offer a little bit of protection from critters or what have you that might be curious and want to come eat. Here's another one over here, the Sugarcube. We've got this in the netting. Really, really pretty. You can see this one, it hasn't started forming that sort of traditional cantaloupe rind on the outside, but getting a nice size itself. Now, one of the things I was really curious about when I started this process was, how are these going to grow? Again, I had only grown watermelons and cantaloupes on the ground. They had grown with their main stem and just kind of kept you know, growing and running on the ground. What I didn't know is how were they going to grow up the trellis? Was this something I was going to have to help it a lot with? Was I going to have to tie it manually as it kept growing and growing? But what ended up happening, at least with these two varieties, very much like a cucumber, you'll see these runners that have come off, these climbers all over the place that have come off the cantaloupe. They're very easy. You can see here, I don't know if you can see very well. They just attach to the fence, right? Very much, if you grow cucumbers, very much the same method. I do come out here from time to time and just help sometimes. Help these runners, you know, get attached to the fence, to the trellis itself. You'll see all as it climbs. But it has made it very, very easy for the cantaloupes. As they grow very aggressively, they shoot these out everywhere, both the Minnesota Midget and the Sugarcube. And so you'll see everywhere lots of these attachments. Make it very, very easy, at least in my case, to grow up the fence. Now this is, again, I think I mentioned at the beginning, this is an 8-foot tall trellis. This is a big one, and you'll see that these cantaloupes are at the top, right? So they have grown very aggressively, very vigorously. You can imagine if these were on the ground, right? This would be taking up a ton of space. It would be very difficult to keep it contained and keep it organized and keep it healthy. And so the bigger it grows, the taller it gets, the more leaves that come off, the more leaves that come out, the more sun that it gets. And it's just, it really, really works well to get these cantaloupes growing. The other thing I'll say here as I'm talking about this, you'll notice, and actually being in May, it started to sort of rest a little bit. If I'd come out here a couple of weeks ago, you would have seen this plant absolutely covered in these flowers. But these cantaloupe flowers, I see so many honeybees out here. Whatever flavor these are, and maybe it's because I like cantaloupes the same way, but the bees, they absolutely love this. And so I don't have to tell you the benefits of this. Number one, a lot of pollinating action on the cantaloupe itself, which is great. But to be able to have a plant in the garden that attracts honeybees to pollinate other plants, right? To pollinate the tomatoes, to pollinate the cucumbers. You see the tomatoes over here, which are right next to the cantaloupe. So I get a lot of bees that come in here on the cantaloupe itself. They love the cantaloupe, and then they'll just hang out in the garden and they'll pollinate everything else around it. So that's been a really nice, you know, added bonus that I wasn't expecting. If you're thinking about growing cantaloupes, if you've had some of the frustration like I have in the past about these plants are just big, I don't have the space, or I spend a lot of time growing these plants, and then when the fruit starts to set, you know, I get issues because it's in the dirt and I don't end up getting any fruit. Give this a shot, right? Make yourself a simple trellis. This is made out of 1x2 cedar, just attached with a little basic fence from Home Depot or any home improvement store. Just a fence that's attached across. This trellis is attached at the bottom to the raised bed. There's countless options, but if you can make a little trellis, a little fence out here, give it a shot. Let your cantaloupes climb. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, like I was, in terms of the ability to climb, how healthy the plant looks, and hopefully I'll be able to make another video here in a couple of weeks where I'll show you some of the fruit that we're getting off this. I'm going to try to do this next year and expand this strategy with hopefully some watermelons and maybe some other melons to see if I can continue growing things up a trellis. But so far so good, and from my perspective, you know, a big thumbs up in terms of growing cantaloupes on the trellis. So look, thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up or even subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, please let me know in the comments. I really, really appreciate your support as we can continue to grow this channel. And if you're out in the garden this summer, best of luck to you. Have a great time growing your cantaloupes out there. Send me some comments, let me know how things are going. And we will see you next time. Thank you.